Okay guys, so I am doing this video to go over how to do the graphs of sines and cosines. So this is the graph for cosine, and this graph that's at the top of my page, this was the first one that went along with the first one that we did in class on Friday. And what I have just underlined right here, this was on your page, but I totally ignored it. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm working really hard on getting back to health, and my voice will be hopefully back soon as well. So anyway, when you have A times the asterisk plus D, this asterisk is the magic number at 0. For sine, the sine of 0 is 0. The cosine of 0 is 1. So you have A times 1 plus D, and D is the midline. Okay, with that said, I'm going to show you, hold on, I'm going to show you the graph of this first one. So the midline is always where we start, and we put in the 1, and here is where, oh, -1, sorry, it's right there. There's my midline. And so this is where y is -1. Okay? And then we always start at 0, 0, and it's like it got shifted down because of this -1, and that is our technically 0, 0. But it's not really 0, 0, it's 0, -1 because of our shift down. Because remember, we had 2 times 0 plus 1. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and graph. This whole video is graphing sine. So let's look at graphing this second one. Now what I have done is I have gone ahead and set up the graph. And you're like, wait a minute, how did you set up the graph? I'm going to show you. The midline is 3 because of this right here. So here's my x-axis. I'm going to do x-axis in purple. Here's my x-axis, and my midline, I'm going to show you in orange. It should be at 3. Why do I show y equals 0? This should say y equals 3. Here's y equals 3 right here. Okay? And in fact, I even wrote it down here as well. So there's my y equals 3. Then the next thing was that I figured out on here, my b is 2, the period is pi. So my increment is pi over 4. So from 0, I'm going to go out. I like skipping 2 just because it makes my graph easier. So there's pi over 4. I'm going to count by pi's, pi over 4's. So that's 1/4 pi, 2/4 pi is pi over 2. 3/4 pi, 4/4 pi is a whole. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Now what I did was all of these positive, and this one I'm graphing in a negative direction. The one above, I kept it going in the increments. This one, I'm making it positive and negative because all I have to do is repeat them in reversed order. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to graph. So with a sine function, it's always starting on the midline. At the first increment, it hits the top, then back to the midline, then hits the bottom, then back to the midline. This is one period, and I just realized, shoot, there was a negative right there. Well, you get to see me correct myself. All right, so this means I had -1 times 0 is 3, but I did not pay attention to the fact that it was negative, and I just made all of these in a positive direction. So I'm going to correct it in purple. Those are the two that are in the wrong place. All the zeros, negative doesn't matter. It made it go negative, so it flips it to the bottom like so. All right, my 3 zeros didn't change places, but this was a negative, which made me go in and change these two. So instead of it going up to a positive and then back to 0, it's going to go down to a negative. This is what the graph will look like. And it's going to keep going, so I'm going to put an arrow. Now if I go back this direction, this one was already negative, midline. This one will be positive, back to the midline, back to the asymptote, back to the midline, and then this will be rainbow bowl, and it keeps going. There's my graph. Okay? I have to pay attention to this negative. All right? Okay, let's look at the next one, number 3 and 4. All right, I'm folding my paper so that you can see each piece of information. Okay, so again, I'm going to start with a midline, and it's at -1. Oh, this is my x, so this is -1. I have dotted in the amplitude or asymptote lines, and my amplitude is 1, you see, so it's up and down 1 from the midline. So then this one, the period is 2, so my increment's pi over 2. Well, I'm making my increment skip 2 every time, and I count it up by pi over 2. Excuse me. Now this one has a really weird shift in here. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to pretend the shift is not there for a minute. It is a positive sign, so it would look like this. It would start here, go up, back to the midline, go down, back to the midline. To go backwards, it would go down to the bottom, midline, amplitude, midline. Okay, and I'm going to dot this. The reason I'm dotting it, this is what sine of x minus 1 would look like. Okay? That's what's in pink. I'm going to take the purple and I'm going to say this guy has a shift right here. It has a shift of negative pi over 4. So to go negative pi over 4, this is at pi over 2. Here is negative pi over 4 because pi over 4 is halfway between negative pi over 4. So that means every dot on here, this dot is what shifted left here. So every dot in here is going to shift left by 1. Left, 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 left. Okay, sad, pathetic. Left, 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 left. Okay, so rainbow, we're going to curve it, and then it's going to scoop out. It's going to be a bowl, and then a rainbow, and then a bowl, and then a unicorn. Just kidding, no unicorns. Okay. What's in purple is the correct line. It's been shifted backward 1/4 pi. Are we good? Now we're going to take on the scary one. Bum, bum, bum. Scary. All right, here we go. I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. All right, I'm going to show you. I have the midline. Oh, would you look at that? The midline is 0. So this y equals 0 is showing that I had no extra midline right here. Okay? And then the amplitude's 3. These are the amplitude lines. Let's see, my B was a half. Kind of left that out, didn't I? So my period's pi over 4. So look, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, voila. And backwards, negative. We've got it set up. If you don't, pause the video. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to just put in, this is sine. Now I'm going to use my orange one this time since I didn't have to draw that line in. And I'm going to start with a regular sine would be here. it would go up to the top, it would come back to the midline, down to the bottom, up to the midline. This one would have gone down, midline, top, midline, and rainbow, bowl, rainbow, bowl, like that. However, we have this change that takes place. And the way that we did this is we set 1/2 x minus pi over 6 equals 0. 1/2 x equals pi over 6. Moving it by addition to the other side. Multiply both sides by 2. X equals pi over 3. Now, pi over 3 is smaller than 1/2. This is pi over 2. Pi over 2, just so you know. That is a pi over 2. So pi over 3 is going to be about here. So this dot gets moved over little less than 1 block. So you know what? Every dot has to go a little less than 1 block. That includes these down here on the bottom. It includes these on the top, and the one that lives on the bottom, and the one that lives on the midline, and the one that lives on the top, and the one that lives on the midline. I hope I just moved it the right direction. It was positive, so thank goodness I did. Okay, rainbow, bowl, rainbow, bowl. Would you look at that? And I don't want to lose a point, so I'm going to put arrows because it goes forever. Hot dog, we did it, and I'm done.